My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's Two Cents, baby. What's going on, everybody? Man, I missed you guys, man. So glad to be here. So glad to be back. Got a lot going on in my life right now, man. Trade show season is back upon us. First show of the year, Style Max. Things are going great with the company I'm with. I'm moving up in the world. Also, if you guys haven't heard, your boy is now a product of ASAP Sports Network, stands for All Sports, All Plays. Shout out to Freddie. And now your boy is a panelist on the much anticipated show called ASAP in the Morning. Great group of guys that I've met, man. True sports fans, guys that are serious about their craft. And it is an honor and fun and a pleasure and fun to work with these guys, man. I really enjoy myself with this crew, and it's fun to, get on a debate format and everybody give their opinions about what they think is going on in the sports world. Also, I haven't left the Rewind Sports 60 network, in which you can see Rob's Two Cents, not only on the Roku channel, but on the app, if you have Google Play or the App Store with iPhone as well. Shout out, brother Jay Rouse, man. Things are moving up in the world for your boy in the land of sports media, man. I told you guys, big things popping for Rob's Two Cents in 2022. But you didn't come here to hear me rant about what's going on with me. I got to give my people an update. I know you came to come get this good sports talk. So, people, if you're on your morning commute, make sure you keep both hands on the wheel, all eyes on the steering wheel. I have to say all because myself as four. Sit down, relax, and make sure you tune into the hottest sports conversation in the nation. This is Rob's Two Cents. And I got to start off with the NFL this week, y'all. We had the first round of the wild card playoffs this past weekend. And man, what a doozy. We had some great games. We saw some unexpected blowouts. We saw some blowouts that we kind of saw coming. I'm telling you guys, man. Any emotion that you can think of this past weekend, after being on the panel ASAP in the Morning, I think I've seen people experience it all. Now, me personally, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so I really didn't have a dog in the fight this weekend, but as you guys know, I'm a Tom Brady fan, so I'm riding with the Buccaneers all the way, and they did win their first game in the first round. But we'll get more into that. I'm going to go in order based on the time that they came on, which means I got to start off with Cincinnati versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Cincinnati pulled it out, y'all. 26-19, your final score. My boy Joe Burrow stepping up in the world and putting the NFL on notice. The man he played like a top 10 quarterback. Didn't have any costly turnovers. Made the right decisions. Got everybody involved. Had a great relationship with his number one receiver in Jamar Chase. I don't know what it is about these LSU boys, but the boy came out to play. And remember, the funny thing about Jamar Chase is, at the beginning of the season, and going into his rookie campaign, he was known as a person that dropped the ball. And I don't know what it is, if they stuck sticky glue or Gorilla Glue on his hands, but the boy is catching everything. The man had a great game. But we got to start off with the head of the snake and Joe Burrow. 24-34 on the day. 244 yards in the air. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. As I mentioned, Jamar Chase, his number one receiver. 9 receptions on the day. 116 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but just his significant impact on the day. But your boy Tyler Boyd and CJ Uzuma, they scored the touchdowns, getting the job done. Now, the only thing that troubled me about Cincinnati is they were not able to find their run game with Joe Mixon. He only had 17 carries for 48 yards on the day. But no Mixon, no problem. the Cincinnati Bengals were able to get the job done, just giving it to the Las Vegas Raiders on the offensive side of the ball, getting off big, getting to a 20-13 start. Now, let me explain something about this game that was pretty weird. I want to say it was the second quarter, towards the end of the quarter. Joe Burrow throws a pass to, I want to say it was Tyler Boyd. He throws the touchdown to him, but in the midst of him throwing him this touchdown, there was a whistle that went off. Now, it was an inverted whistle, but usually in the on the realm of the NFL, if the whistle goes off even during the play, that play is now considered dead. But what they justified by saying after the game is that even though the whistle went off, Jamar Chase already had the ball. Tyler Boyd already caught the ball and was on his way in the end zone. So due to the fact that the ball was already out of Joe Burrow's hand and on his way to Tyler Boyd, the play was still able to happen. They counted it as a touchdown. Cincinnati goes into the half with a 20-13 lead. After that, the writing was just on the wall. They held the Las Vegas Raiders scoreless in the third, only to 2 field goals. Well, I believe he got a field goal, but held them to 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and the only thing they needed was that 1 field goal to get the W. Derek Carr. And I like to call Derek Carr a top 10 quarterback in the league. I believe he has the skills necessary. And I'm going to give the Las Vegas Raiders a little bit of a break, considering the crazy fiasco of a season they had, considering the fact they lose a receiver. They lose their coach to some racist comments that was made in Coach John Gruden. So they the fact that they made it to the playoffs was a minor miracle, especially considering the fact that the Indianapolis Colts pretty much had their playoff ticket written for them. But you couldn't beat the worst team in the league in the Jacksonville Jaguars, or one of the worst teams in the league. I believe that distinction belonged to the Detroit Lions. But you could not beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shame on you, Indy. I forgot to talk about y'all. But you guys are out of my thought process. You didn't make the playoffs. To hell with you. But Derek Carr was able to pull off that miraculous victory against the Los Angeles Chargers. Pretty much wrote his way into the playoffs, but he got there and played bad in his division, in this wild card game. He was 29 of 54. He threw for 310 yards in the air. He did have a touchdown, but he also had an interception. He tried to do the best with his receivers. We thought this would have been a great game for Hunter Renfrow to step up, but it just didn't come to pass. And the Cincinnati Bengals were able to get the job done. They're gonna move on. I'm also gonna give you my predictions for what's gonna happen in the second round of the playoffs, the divisional round, which we're gonna see Saturday and Sunday. Shout out to Cincinnati. Shout out to Joe Burrow. I was a little worried about Joe. I don't know if you guys recall the game he played against the Chicago Bears, and where Joe Burrow literally threw 3 back-to-back interceptions, but he was able to get his head on straight towards the end of the season. Cincinnati got some great momentum going, and now they've become one of the scarier teams in the playoffs. We're gonna keep our eyes on this Cincinnati team, even though I don't think they're gonna win the second round. I still hold that prediction true. They're not going to. I don't believe they're going to be able I can't remember who they're going to be playing, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to get the job done against the Titans. That's who they're going to be playing. And like I said, we're going to be talking more about that as the show progresses. But again, Cincy, your winner over the Las Vegas Raiders, 26-19. Now, this next game we have to talk about also came on Saturday evening. A very highly anticipated game. We saw the Buffalo Bills completely destroy the New England Patriots, you guys. The final score was 47-15. Mac Jones was able to get some touchdowns in garbage time. He was able to get a touchdown in the third, a touchdown in the fourth. But other than that, the New England Patriots pose no threat to the top ranked defense in the Buffalo Bills, who also happen to look like they had the top ranked offense. Because let me tell you something about this game that I've never heard of. The Buffalo Bills were able to score on the first 7 possessions of the game. We're not talking about punting the ball. I don't believe their punter even came out. Able to score on the first 7 possessions of the game. By the time we got to halftime, the score was already 27-3. They were dominating this game in all facets. The New England Patriots looked outmanned and outmatched. Let me tell you about Josh Allen, who receives a lot of criticism. Josh Allen played one of the best games that you will probably see a quarterback play in an NFL playoff game. 21-25 on the day, 308 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Even showed you his ability to run outside of the pocket, as he will have 6 carries for 66 yards and will be the second leading rusher on the Buffalo Bills. I mean, everybody was invited to the party. Dawson Knox had 2 touchdowns. Gabriel Davis had a touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders had a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 3 receptions for 60 yards on the day. I mean, I probably could have went out there and caught one of those passes from Josh Allen, as great as he was playing. And I know you guys rarely see me do this for the NFL, and the NFL, I'm sorry for not showing you attention. But Josh Allen, you had such a great game. First 7 possessions of the game led to a score against what was supposed to be a very scary defense in the New England Patriots. Also considering the fact that just a couple weeks prior to when you guys played them, even though it was a chilly day, even though it was a very windy day, you let this very team beat you 14-10 by running the ball 42 times out of the 45 times they had the ball in their hand. Josh Allen able to redeem himself. Josh Allen, that boy cold. And I think he's ready for the Chiefs. As I mentioned before, we're going to talk more about this upcoming weekend of football playoff games of the second round of the divisional round. But what Josh Allen did to the New England Patriots, nobody saw that coming. Now, I didn't expect the Patriots to beat the Buffalo Bills. As I mentioned, they've been a top 5 defense all throughout the year. And Mac Jones just simply is not ready. You can tell by his numbers, 24-38 on the day, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, Mac Jones is he you can see the potential there. But I don't think he was ready for an onslaught like this. And Buffalo cruised through New England with no problem. If this team plays like this going forward, you might be looking at your Super Bowl champions. And then this game we expected. At least I did. On Sunday, to start us off for the day, remember we had 3 games on Sunday. Tampa Bay was able to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 31-15. They were never in any real trouble. Philadelphia was not able to score until the 4th quarter. For the first 3 quarters of the game, that defense made life horrible for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was 23 of 43 on the day, 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not even able to really get outside the pocket, 8 carries for 39 yards, which is about an average of 5 yards every play. Nobody was scared of Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles offense. But let me tell you what Tampa Tom did. Let me tell you what old GOAT Brady did. Tom Brady was 29 and 37 on the day, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Their running game is nothing to be scared of, especially right now. You're missing Rojo, you're missing playoff Lenny and Leonard Fournette. However, we know what Tom Brady can do in the air. We know the elevation that Tom Brady brings to other players, how he elevates their game, the motivation that he brings, the fact that TB12 has your back. In fact, it was so funny. I was watching a podcast, I Am Athlete. They had my boy Shady McCoy on there, LaShawn McCoy. He played with the Buccaneers and a little later in the season before he got released from the team. So he got to see Tom Brady up close. And he was saying, man, when Tom Brady is on your team, even the janitor raises his play. He just, when you got TB12 back there as your anchor, everything is okay. And it just still amazes me what this man is doing at the age of 44 and how you lose Antonio Brown because of stupidity. You lose Chris Godwin because of injury. And his next man up, Mike Evans, who was probably rubbing his hands like Birdman, could not wait to become the top receiver again, and he showed it by having 9 receptions on the day for 117 yards, 1 touchdown, and was just pretty much the vocal point of Tom Brady's attack. Gronkowski, usual suspect, he caught a touchdown as well. So, Tom Brady just raising the status of the team and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're looking like they're poised to try to make a deep playoff push. I'm a little nervous. You lose your 1 and 2 receiver because say what you want about Antonio Brown, you cannot deny that man's skill. We saw what he did against the Carolina Panthers. I think he had 11 receptions that day. I mean, Tom Brady just force-feeding him the ball. And we talked about why Antonio Brown ran off the field. I don't want to give that any energy. But to lose him, to lose Chris Godwin to a torn ACL, those are tough losses. And I was worried just a tad bit about the Philadelphia Eagles just because of Jalen Hurts' ability to get outside of the pocket. However, that Tampa Bay defense showed that they are no joke when it comes to stopping the run. They were able to contain Jalen Hurts. And like as I mentioned, they didn't score until garbage time. Shout out to Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers as Tom Brady was able to lead this team 31-15 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is a game that I laughed at, the next game up, the afternoon game, because we saw the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, let me tell you something about the Dallas Cowboys, okay? I personally don't have a problem with the Cowboys. I'm going to just let it be real. I love that Jerry Jones cares so much about this team that he wants to be involved, but that's a gift and a curse because sometimes he gets too involved and you're not letting your football staff that you delegated to take care of football operations, you're not letting them perform their job to their highest ability. Now you're looking for a bunch of yes men, and when you get a bunch of yes men, you're not going to have people to tell you sometimes to shut the hell up. Because sometimes Jerry Jones need to stay out of football business and shut the hell up. I'm sorry, Mr. Jerry Jones. I know you're a multi-gazillionaire, but facts is facts. You need to let your president of operations, you need to let your head coach, you need to let them do what you're paying them to do. Let them worry about football and you sign the check. Because everybody that I know that loves the Cowboys, whether it's personal friends of mine, whether it's the new guys I've met on this panel with ASAP in the morning, watching Skip Bayless, watching Michael Irvin, and all these Cowboy lovers, let me tell you, so everybody will say, oh, this year's different. Oh, the Cowboys they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl. Every year it's the same old song and dance. And like I always say, eventually, the Cowboys will do cowboy things. San Francisco was your winner 23-17. It was an okay game. At first it looked like San Francisco was going to dominate. I mean, they were winning 16-7 in the first half, come out, score another touchdown in the third, and we're just like, okay, we see the writing on the wall. 23-7. Dallas is gonna go ahead and hang up the jerseys and call it one. But Dak Prescott, doing what Dak Prescott does, he decided to get hot in the fourth quarter. Now, usually that's garbage time, but I'll give him this. It would have been a miraculous comeback, and I would have had to give him his kudos. But let me tell you what this guy does. With about 14 seconds left on the clock, they're trying to drive to get Dak and the Cowboys in position to get a Hail Mary down the field. I don't know what they ran multiple plays in which Dak was able to dink and dunk. His receivers were able to get out of bounds. And I believe it was like 5 to 7 seconds left. No, it was about 14 seconds left, actually. And Dak decided to run with the ball. Now, I have to blame head coach Mike McCarthy. I have to blame Dak Prescott. I have to blame the offensive coordinator. Everybody who had a say in what that last play was drawn up, they deserve to be reprimanded. Because why would you do a QB sneak or QB draw in the middle of the field with no timeouts left, knowing that you're going to have to spike this ball to get yourself in position to try to do a streaks down the field? I get the thinking. I get your logic. You're thinking, okay, Dak can run, get us a little closer. Now, instead of a Hail Mary, we're throwing a streak. We're throwing a wide receiver streak. Everybody streak toward the end zone. We're going to go for it. It gives us a better chance. Maybe you don't trust in the arm strength of Dak Prescott, especially the accuracy, throwing it from 50 yards. You say, let's try to get down at least to the 30. Dak Prescott ran the ball too long. He should have downed it probably when he got 10 yards. He should have downed it. He should have just slid, got up, looked for the umpire, give him the ball, and get a chance to spike it to leave at least 2 to 3 seconds left on the clock so that this play can go off. Mike McCarthy should have told him that wasn't a good idea anyway. You should have probably tried to get another one on, even though, to San Francisco's credit, they threw everybody in the flats. They threw the whole defense in the flat. They said you can have the middle of the field. You're not going to get the end zone, and you're not going to be able to get any closer to get out of bounds to stop this clock. Dak Prescott runs the ball. He's finally downed on the field with about 4 seconds left. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the game of football, the umpire, the referee, whatever you want to call the official, has to touch the football before the play can begin. So once the play is over with, the referee has to touch the football, has to put the football at the correct spot before your next play can begin. Now, a lot of people are trying to say that this was a blooper on the ref. He ran into Dak. That cost him about 2 or 3 seconds off the clock. By the time the referee was able to grab the ball, field the ball in the right position, because Dak moved up a little bit, you have to put the ball down with a knee or hand or where you would tackle that. You can't slide up 2 or 3 yards and think they're going to give you those 2 or 3 yards. So the referee had to then move the ball back. And by the time Dak was able to touch the ball, the clock was up. Ladies and gentlemen, my good people, as I've always said, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will always do cowboy things. Mind you, Dak Prescott just got paid $75 million with that extension that he got. This is the numbers that Dak Prescott gives you. Dak Prescott goes 23 of 43 on the field, 254 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't know about you, my good people, but that does not sound to me like a $75 million quarterback. Not to mention the running back who also gave you a debacle with his paycheck, Ezekiel Elliott, 12 carries for 31 yards, no touchdowns. None of the receivers showed up. Where was Amari Cooper? He did give you a touchdown on the day, 6 receptions for 64 yards. You need him to step up. CeeDee Lamb was absent. One reception for 21 yards. What? These are your guys that you put everything in. And nobody decided to show up. Not the defense. They showed up in the fourth. But by that time, the damage had already been done. Now, with Jimmy G, the problem with the San Francisco 49ers, because I'm not going to talk about what the Cowboys did wrong this whole segment. I'm going to talk about what the 49ers did right. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, I said Jimmy V. Jimmy G was able to not throw away the game. Now, he did have an interception and no touchdowns on the day. However, Jimmy G was just out there to be a game manager. He only threw the ball 25 times, even though he connected on 16 targets, only 172 yards. So that coach had no faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. He said, let's take the ball out of his hand as much as we can and give it to the man known as Debo. Because Debo Samuel showed up. I mean, what's up, Craig? What's up, Red? Thanks for the bite. And he decided to ride that bike all over the Dallas Cowboys because Debo Samuel was everywhere. Even though in the passing game he only gave you 3 receptions for 38 yards, that run game was something serious. 10 carries, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. You want to talk about a utility knife? You want to talk about a guy that does it all? You got to talk about Debo Samuel. And now that could possibly pose a problem to them Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk about more of that in a second. But the Dallas Cowboys were your losers of the day. 23-17 with the San Francisco 49ers advancing to the second round of the playoffs. And then for the last game on Sunday, we had the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not really much to talk about here. We know Pat Mahomes was starting to get back into a groove. He was 30 of 39 on the day, 30 for 39 on the day, 404 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Even Travis Kelce got out there and threw a touchdown. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs were rocking and rolling. Shaky first quarter, neither team scored. And after that, boom, Kansas City erupted for a 21-point second quarter, and after that, it was no looking back. We know the usual suspects showed up. Travis Kelce not only threw it for a touchdown, he caught a touchdown. 5 receptions for 108 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Tyreek Hill decided to show up. He got 5 receptions for 57 yards, 1 touchdown on the day. Jerick McKinnon, 6 receptions, 81 yards, 1 touchdown on the day. Byron Pringle caught 2 touchdowns on the day. Nick Allegretti caught a touchdown on the day. I mean, and that's your offensive lineman. That was a sweet pass by Travis Kelce, wasn't it? I mean, everybody out there touching the ball. Mecole Hardman, 4 receptions for 43 yards. I mean, Pat Mahomes was just out there throwing dimes. I mean, just throwing dimes. You want to catch it, you get a catch. You get a catch. Everybody gets a catch on this team. I mean, what more can you say about the Kansas City Chiefs peaking at the right time? As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we know this was the last hurrah for Big Ben. 29 receptions. He threw 44 times, only hit 29 targets, 215 yards on the day. 2 touchdowns, but it was just too much for that Kansas City Chiefs team. Nothing the Pittsburgh Steelers can do. Shout out to Big Ben. It's amazing that you guys even made the playoffs. Nobody really saw that coming. He had a hell of a career, regardless of what happened off the field. On the field, Big Ben was that dude. 2-time Super Bowl champ. I don't know if he's gonna make it he's gonna make it to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if we say first ballot, but he's definitely going to make the Hall of Fame. So shout out to Big Ben. That'll be a discussion we have at a later date. Is Big Ben a first ballot Hall of Fame? A hot take. Well, that's what I do. I'm Rob. But shout out to Big Ben. I was a Steelers fan for a while back in the day, especially when my boy Jerome, the bus was there, Jerome Bettis. They had Hines Ward, Troy Polamalu. I mean, I can recall playing Madden. Rest in peace to John Madden, Coach John Madden. Picking the Pittsburgh Steelers. So shout out to Big Ben. I hope he enjoys retirement. It's definitely well deserved and well earned. And I hope you have a great second half of your non-football career. And for the last game of the playoffs, in which we had an historic spectacle, because this was the first time that Monday Night Football hosted a playoff game, we saw the Arizona Cardinals also get dog walked by the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I know that we said that Dak Prescott might not be that guy. I don't think Kyler Murray is that guy either. Just based off what we've seen, he's been building habits of historically going flat after an 8-game winning streak in the second half of the season. They did this last year. He looked lost without DeAndre Hopkins this year. He looked lost this whole game as he was 19-34 for 137 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, that Los Angeles Rams defense finally decided to show up. And it's so funny about that because on ASAP in the morning, I had the camera point just directly to me. And I had a little soliloquy for the Los Angeles Rams. I had to go on a little bit of a tirade. I had to go on a little bit of a rant because the Los Angeles Rams have went all in. I don't care what anybody says. You trade Jared Goff for a quarterback who had not won a playoff game in his 12 years of playing the game in the National Football League. You bring in a Von Miller who, yes, even though he's not 2016 Von Miller, to add him to Aaron Donald, to add him to Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, and the rest of those boys, you're pretty much showing people you're going all in. Not to mention the draft picks you gave up for Matthew Stafford. And then you see Odell Beckham Jr. is out there free as a bird, and you decide to snatch him up as well. Where's the salary cap for the Los Angeles Rams, first of all? How are you able to get all these people? But the Los Angeles Rams finally did what they thought that they were going to do when they assembled this team, and that was dominate in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford had a great game, even though he only threw the ball 17 times. It was 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Odell Beckham threw the ball for 40 yards. That run game finally showed up. Sonny Michel and Cam Akers, each getting you 50-plus yards on the ground. I mean, everything was rocking and rolling. Odell caught a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, who many will argue was the best receiver, at least of this past season, he caught a touchdown. I mean, the Rams showed up. Can the Rams do that to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Matthew Stafford only throwing 17 times? I doubt it. But what I'm telling people is this was a great game plan against this Arizona team. You didn't have to do too much, so why do it? You had this team beat 21-0 by the halftime. And even in the second half, you still outscored this team. They were only able to get 11 points, and you put 13 more points on their tater top. What's wrong with you, Arizona? What happened? A team that started out 7-0, that was 10-2 after 12 games in the season. And you collapse like this? Somebody got to get fired. Somebody has to reevaluate the makeup of this team. I know you lost DeAndre Hopkins, but that's no excuse. You still got Zach Ertz out there. You still got James Conner out there. You still had Chase Edmonds out there, Christian Kirk out there, Rondale Moore out there. You had enough. AJ Green out there. Well, I don't think AJ even played. And if AJ did play. He just had no production on the field. Kyler Murray played like his height. He played like he was 5'10", because he just had no answer for, for that defensive onslaught that came from the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams win at 34-11 as the Cardinals go bye-bye in the first round of the playoffs. But now that brings me to this second round. Now the matchups are set. You're going to have Tennessee versus Cincinnati. You're going to have Green Bay versus San Francisco. You're going to have the Rams versus the Buccaneers. And you're going to have the Buffalo Bills versus the Chiefs. I'm going to give you my predictions because, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't want to toot my own horn, but I was 6-6 for the first round of the wild card of the playoffs, the wild card round of the playoffs. I was perfect. Go back and watch the last Rob's 2 cents. Every team that won, I predicted it. And I'm going to try to go another 4-0. And as we start with Cincinnati versus the Bengals, is one important thing that's about to happen for Tennessee. Now, the good thing was that they were able to get the first round bye by being in first place in the AFC Conference. It was able to get their players some rest, in particularly one player who was on track to make history by being the first running back to have back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing seasons. And that's that boy Derrick Henry. Remember, Derrick Henry has not played since November 1st after he suffered that Jones fracture in his foot, had to have surgery back in week 8. And now he's recovered. And some great news also happened for the Tennessee Titans. He just passed his first physical contact-on-contact practice. He was able to put the pads on. He ran some offensive drills where he had to run through the defense, and they were knocking him around, kind of simulating what would go on in the actual game. And to hear Derrick Henry say, "I felt great," might spell trouble for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm already surprised that Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, what they've been able to accomplish over there in Tennessee, losing Derrick Henry in week 8 and still being able to maintain your position and stay in the upper echelon of the AFC conference. And not only stay in the upper echelon of that conference, you are in first place in that conference. You get that bye week in that conference. I know Joe Burrow is rocking and rolling right now, and I do still stand on the fact that he proved that he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But I just think with the momentum that Tennessee has been playing with, their defense has been showing up. According to Covers Me, if you guys don't know, covers.com, I'm sorry, that's a website I like to use to see my rankings. And Tennessee was ranked number 2 in the regular season in rushing yards, ranked number 6 in points scored. Now, the only thing that scared me a little bit is they was ranked 25th in passing yards, and we know Joe Burrow is gonna like to light them up, especially using that young kid in Jamar Chase. But I just do not see the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. The return of Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is going to continue his great play. I see Tennessee beating the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be a close game, but I just think in the end, Derrick Henry is going to tire that team out. We're going to talk about a fresh Derrick Henry who's getting some practice in him, trying to get his stamina back up. And the good thing with football is, unlike basketball, he's not on the field the entire time. So he'll have moments in which he's able to take a break, catch his breath, on the sideline, and I believe he'll be able to get into game shape while playing the game. And I just think he's gonna roll all over the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna say the Tennessee. I'm sorry, over the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna say the Tennessee Titans are going to win. It's gonna be a mid-scoring game. I'm gonna say 21-17, the Tennessee Titans over the Cincinnati Bengals. Our next game, and this is gonna be a game that I think everybody has been waiting on. It's gonna be the Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, keep in mind, a couple years ago, San Francisco was able to beat Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl. Not to mention Green Bay also lost to Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game for Tampa Bay to make the Super Bowl. So right now, Aaron Rodgers faces a lot of pressure. He was the number one seed. Him and the Green Bay Packers, they were able to get the bye week. That's great for him as well because you got was able to get a week of rest, even though there's some bad news that's coming out that with the Green Bay Packers, David Bakhtiari, he might not be able to play. They're saying that he's still probable, but he missed practice on Tuesday and Thursday. But they saying that's to load management. But now they're finding out that their right tackles, I'm sorry, not right tackle, but outside linebackers, and Zadarius Smith and Whitney Marcellus, they're not gonna probably play. They're actually looking very doubtful. And then also one of his top guns, a receiver by the name of Marquez Valdez Scantling, MVS as some people call him. He's looking doubtful as he has a bad back. So that I'm not gonna make any excuses for Green Bay though. If Tennessee was able to do what they did without Derrick Henry, gonna have to find a way to get it done. Now Green Bay have done some miraculous things this past season. Remember, they were able to go to Arizona while Arizona was at 7-0 or 8-0, and they were able to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And remember, Aaron Rodgers didn't have Devontae Adams. He didn't have Lazard, or he didn't have Scantling. So you were without your top three receivers, and you were still able to go to the top seed in your conference and put a whipping on them boys. So we know that Aaron Rodgers can get the job done, but now it's time for him to put his money where his mouth is. You caused all this fiasco at the beginning of the season. You didn't know if you wanted to come back. You were threatening retirement. You're mad because the Green Bay Packers decided to get Jordan Love, a quarterback, in the draft. You felt like they were trying to push you out, a little similar to the way that they used you to push out Brett Favre. History kind of repeated itself, didn't it? Then, not to mention on top of that, you do come into the season, but you lie about being vaccinated. You said you're immunized, and find out that you lied, that the team was covering for you, and they probably would have still covered for you had you not caught COVID and the truth came out. You always saying some crazy nonsense, whether it's on one of these podcasts or just being a complete jerk to people. Now, I do rock with Aaron Rodgers, which I know is crazy to hear. I know I'm a Chicago person. We don't rock with Green Bay like that, but talent is talent. Aaron Rodgers is a very talented quarterback. But right now, I believe this playoff game against the Rams and this playoff series, period. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, also considering the fact you got the best receiver in football, also considering the fact you're going to probably be the MVP of the regular season. Right now, if you don't win the Super Bowl this year, Aaron Rodgers cannot consider himself a top 5 quarterback. He just can't. He has to win. Out of all the years he's been playing football, he only has one Super Bowl win. You blame Mike McCarthy. He leaves. So now you with LaFleur, who leads you guys. He's going for another deep playoff push. It's time for Aaron Rodgers to either nut up or shut up. I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers. against the San Francisco 49ers. Even though I know Deebo Samuel is a bad man, I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that defense is going to be able to do all that they can, but if your offense does not score the ball and you leave the door open for Aaron Rodgers to do what Aaron Rodgers does, I just think the 49ers won't have enough firepower to go tick for tack with A-Rod. I got the Green Bay Packers beating the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going 24-10. Our next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Los Angeles Rams. And this is a tough one for me because I actually like the Los Angeles Rams. I love the defense that they built over there. I love Odell Beckham Jr. over there along with Cooper Kupp. And I wish Robert Woods was still there as well, even though he's out with that torn ACL. He'll be back next season. But I love that receiving core over there. I love the fact that Cam Akers is back for the Los Angeles Rams. I just don't love Matthew Stafford. You see, I have a close relationship with Matthew Stafford as far as viewership. He was in my division, the NFC North. I saw all the collapses that he had with the Detroit Lions. You had the Calvin Johnsons in the world. You had great receivers over there. I'm not going to blame everything on Matthew Stafford, but sooner or later, quarterbacks have to take the blame when you see that no matter who's coaching you, you're in the same predicament, which is why I say Dak Prescott is not that guy. He had a problem with Jason Garrett. They bring in a Mike McCarthy, who's won a Super Bowl. And you stink up the place again. And Matthew Stafford was not that guy. Now, I'm not going to, hey, people can change. I'm not one to not give people a second chance because in my life, I was given a second chance. But Matthew Stafford and the Rams have to win this game. You went all in. You have to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I don't think you can do it. Tom Brady is on the other side of that field. Now, granted, the first time this team met, the Rams were able to get the job done, 34-24. Tom Brady had a hell of a game, 41 of 55 from the field, 432 yards, 1 touchdown. Even had a touchdown on the QB sneak. But Mike Evans and Chris Godwin was the only one that showed up. Now, granted, with the Los Angeles Rams, you don't have Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson had 3 receptions for 120 yards. Remember that big play he had on Tampa? But Cooper Kupp had himself a game. 9 receptions, 49 yards. I mean, playing by committee. And I love that Los Angeles Rams defense, and they finally woke up. We saw that against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I hope that defense don't show up. But if that defense shows up, it's going to be a long day for old Goat Brady. But I'm going to trust in Tom Brady. I'm going to trust in Tom Brady more than I trust in Matthew Stafford and say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win this game. Granted, no Antonio Brown, no Chris Godwin, no problem. Also, considering the fact you might be getting Rojo back, might be getting Ronald Jones back. You might be getting Leonard Fournette back. Not to mention you got Shaq Barrett back last week. You got Jason Pierre-Paul over there. You got Ndamukong Suh over there. Don't act like this defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't do that thing as well. And they're going to force you to throw the ball, Matthew Stafford, because you cannot run against this defense. I'm going to pick Tampa Bay in a shootout. 41-33. And in the last game, of course, probably the top offenses from this previous first round of the playoffs are going to finally lock horns, as the Buffalo Bills will be going against the Kansas City Chiefs in our last game of the second round of the playoffs. This one is going to be a doozy, ladies and gentlemen, because right now Buffalo has the number 1 ranked defense in the league, after the first round of the playoffs? Can you deny after the ass whooping we saw them put on the New England Patriots? The question is going to become, are you going to take Buffalo's defense over Patrick Mahomes' experience? Because if Patrick Mahomes is able to make it back to the AFC Championship game, this will be his fourth consecutive year in a row. You don't get there by mistake. And after 2 times, you don't get there. It's no longer considered luck. This is just what he do. Patrick Mahomes gets to the dance. And I don't think that streak is going to stop right now. Granted, Buffalo played a hell of a game. But do you really think they're going to have another 7 possessions where they just score? Especially against this Kansas City Chiefs defense who started picking up steam at the end of the season? Who showed what they were made of in the first round of the playoffs? Who showed how they get down? Granted, it was against Pittsburgh. But let's be real. Pittsburgh also had probably the best defensive player who's going to be the MVP of the defense this year. The best defensive player in the league this year in TJ Watt. So let's just not act like Pittsburgh defense was something to laugh at. And Patrick Mahomes was able to do his thing. And I think he can relive some of that magic against the Buffalo Bills defense. I believe the Chiefs are going to be looking to get some revenge. Remember, the Chiefs beat the Bills last year in the NFL in the AFC Championship game, and then the Bills were able to get some revenge coming into Arrowhead on October 10th in the regular season, beating this team 38-20. They were able to get some revenge on the Chiefs. Well, I think turnabout is fair play, and Chiefs are going to put the Bills right back in their place. And I'm going to say that the score is going to be 35-27. I have the Kansas City Chiefs over the Buffalo Bills. So let's go over this, ladies and gentlemen. Out of the teams I picked, I got Tennessee over Cincy. I got Green Bay over the 49ers, Buccaneers over the Rams, and Chiefs over the Bills. We'll talk more next week after the second round of the playoffs. And now I got to switch it up a little bit. Go to the NBA. Because the Bulls were struggling, man. I got to talk. You see the hat I'm wearing? We were on a 4-game winning streak. You know we've been battling some crazy injuries. We didn't have Alex Caruso since early December, who not only was battling a bad foot, a bad hamstring, he then had to be put in health and safety protocols. Lonzo Ball is now out. He's going to undergo a procedure on his left meniscus injury, so he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Zach LaVine is out. He's not going to make it for the Bulls' up-and-coming road trip. Javonte Green is out. He's not going to be able to play the Grizzlies on Monday. I mean, I'm sorry, he didn't play against the Grizzlies on Monday, which was Martin Luther King Day. And he's going to continue to be out now, I think, for the next couple of weeks. Derrick Jones is out. He's going to miss 4 weeks due to a bone bruise in his right knee. And then remember, we lost Patrick Williams back on October 29th in the beginning of the season with ligaments in his left wrist that needed to be repaired. So they're expecting him to at least come back for the playoffs, but he's going to be out 4 to 6 months, counting your time from then. That's a lot of injury for the Bulls. And they were on a 4-game losing streak. I mean, it was getting bad, y'all. We lost to some great teams who I would have loved to see the Bulls play with a healthy roster. The only loss that was bad was the loss to Boston. I don't care what anybody say right now. The Boston Celtics are not playing up to the level that people thought they were going to grow. I still don't like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing on the same team together. I just think they play the same position, and there's not enough basketball for both of those guys to be on the same team. But we lost to Brooklyn. That's admirable. We lost to Golden State. Admirable. We lost to Memphis. Admirable. So Considering the fact that these are top teams in their respective conferences, I can't get mad at that loss. But yesterday something happened. We had Alex Caruso come back, and the Bulls were able to beat a hot Cleveland team. Remember the segment I did a couple weeks ago about the Cleveland Cavaliers? We look up weeks from now and they're still in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. This was no aberration. This team is for real. And they're doing all this without Colin Sexton. They're trying to find a place to put Kevin Love. But this team just continues to win. I'm just glad that they didn't do it against my Chicago Bulls. DeRozan was able to get a little bit of his magic. I like that buzzer beater he hit at the end of the third quarter. That side shot looking like he channeled his inner Kobe. And the Bulls are now able to get back on track. Now, remember, we're going to be without Lonzo for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be without Derrick Jones for the next couple of weeks. I don't know how long Javante is going to be out. Zach LaVine is going to be out, it looks like now, for the foreseeable future. Hopefully the Bulls are able to sustain. I don't expect them to stay in first place, but as long as we can stay above 6, I like the Bulls' chances, especially as we start to get our team back. Now, I hope they're looking at Indiana because Indiana wants to get rid of Miles Turner. And we can use another defensive big man. Doesn't necessarily have to be a center. Just somebody who's going to cause some havoc down there. I will be seriously looking to see if I can trade Kobe White for Miles Turner. Now, I know I hear some of you guys groaning. Kobe has been the most consistent person off the bench as far as scoring. But I believe as the Bulls get healthy and we're able to get people back in their right positions, not to mention you can play either DeRozan or LaVine with some of the bench to give you that scoring. I believe by that time also Ayo would have developed more into more of a scorer. We know what he can do defensively, but he's also showed glimpses, I should say, of what he can do offensively. I also like Alex Caruso. He has championship pedigree. I just think that the Bulls have too many guards on this team. And if we have to get rid of a guard, it should be Kobe White. Only reason I say Kobe White and not somebody like a Troy Brown is because Kobe White actually has value. A team could look at a Kobe White and say, I can use that. No offense to Kobe White. I love Kobe White. What he's been able to do since he's came back off injury has been nothing short of amazing. Actually being the anchor to lead our bench in their offense. But as I mentioned, he has value. And I believe you can get away with trading him and a Troy Brown or him and a Alfonso McKinney for a Miles Turner. I believe you can make that happen. I would love to see Miles Turner come on this team. As I mentioned, his defensive prowess, we can use that for sure on the Chicago Bulls, especially because I don't have too much faith in Tony Bradley, and Vucevic has never been known as a defender. So just something to think about, man. But I think with Alex Caruso coming back, as long as the Bulls can stay semi-healthy and wait for the rest of the cavalry to return, I do believe the Bulls don't put themselves in a play-in situation. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on that injury situation going forward. And then I also got to talk about the 2022 All-Star Game. As you guys know, the All-Star Game this year is going to be held in Cleveland. I believe it's February 7th. No, I'm sorry, February 20th. I was way off. So the All-Star Game is February 20th. Right now, LeBron has jumped in front of everybody as the leading vote getter. Right now, he's at about 6.8 million votes in the front court. I'm going to tell you the top 2 vote getters in both the front court and in the guard section for each conference. If we look in the West, LeBron James at 6.8 million votes, and the second leading vote getter for the front court is Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP, at 4.1 million. Of course, to lead the guards is Steph Curry at 6 million votes, and Ja Morant, the upcoming superstar, at 2.6 million. As we look into the Eastern Conference, Kevin Durant leads the way for the front court and for the entire East with 5.4, almost around 5.5 million votes. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning Finals MVP and reigning NBA champion, is second on that list at 5.1 million votes. To lead the guards, my boy, DeMar DeRozan at 4.1 million votes. Shout out to DeMar, and it's going to be so good to see a Chicago Bull back in the All-Star game, man. We haven't had that since D Rose. I am so excited to see us back in the All-Star game, and then Trae Young at 2.1 million. And I know I said 2, but Zach LaVine is right under him at about 2 million votes himself right now at 1.9 million. So it's going to be a great All-Star game just based off the names that I said. If I had to tell you right now who I would have to choose based off the play that they've had, I would say in the Eastern Conference, in my guards, I would have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Yes, I'm biased. Kill me. So what? I have to show love to my Bulls, and both of those guys deserve it. I would say Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan would lead my guards, and in my front court, I would have Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the big man Joel Embiid. And on the Western Conference side, I would have Steph Curry and Ja Morant to lead my guards. And I would have LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and Karl Anthony Towns to be my front court section. Yes, threw you off with that one. But Karl Anthony Towns have been playing amazing this year. Minnesota's actually, I believe they actually have a winning record this year. Let's take a look at that. Let's go to the standings real quick. Does Minnesota have a winning record this year? They do. They did, but they're at 22-23. But they are above the Los Angeles Lakers at 7th in the Western Conference. And I brought up an interesting stat with the boys at ASAP in the morning. Do you know right now the Eastern Conference from 1 through 8, everybody has a winning record. Everybody is at least a game over 500. This is the first time I've ever seen that. The Eastern Conference has turned into the Beastern Conference, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of beasts, I have to tell you about these big men who have become the center of attention. You like what I did there? Both Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic both had monster games this past Wednesday. Joel Embiid against the Orlando Magic, which resulted into a W, will go crazy. He had 50 points as he shot 17 of 23 from the field, even though he was 1 of 4 from the three-point line. Your big man was 15 of 17 from the free throw line, giving you 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks, and only 2 turnovers. And they said Joel Embiid is not in the MVP conversation, considering the fact of what he's been doing with the Philadelphia 76ers, having them in 5th place, even though this whole Ben Simmons debacle has been going on, this fiasco has been going on. Joel Embiid still coming out there, getting the job done, even though the Philadelphia 76ers should fire Doc Rivers just for what he's done to the psyche of this team. But not to be outdone. The reigning MVP said, no, I'm the best center in the league. And he would come out against the Los Angeles Clippers, and even though it was in overtime, he would throw the game-winning assist to Aaron Gordon as he would splash the 3 from the corner. Nikola Jokic, a.k.a. the Joker, would go for 49 points, 16 of 25 from the field, 3 of 5 from the three-point line, and your big man, 14 of 16 from the free throw line, giving you 14 rebounds, including 7 offensive rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 5 turnovers. Who cares about the turnovers when you give your team 7 offensive rebounds? I don't care what nobody say about these two gentlemen, you have to understand that they are bringing the center back into the NBA. And not only are they scary down there on the block, we're talking about two guys that can stretch the floor, that is setting the mold for what a big man should and could do in the NBA. Them boys cold. Shout out to the Joker and shout out to Joel Embiid. And last but not least, I have to laugh at this. One more shot at the Cowboys before I go. Dak Prescott was fined $25,000 for comments that he made about the referees during his post-game interviews after that horrible loss to the 49ers. Remember what I said about Dak Prescott not being able to hike the ball at the end of the game because he decided to run out the clock himself, and he felt that the referee, it was his fault because he bumped into Dak. Dak not realizing you're supposed to look for the referee. It's your job to find the referee, give him the ball so you can get the ball off so you can spike it. But you didn't do that. You decided to give it to your center and act like you can make your own rules in the game of professional football. But that's neither here nor there. Dak Prescott would then be asked about the fans who were throwing things on the field after the Cowboys lost. Dak Prescott will first say that's sad, considering the fact that we put our all into this season and we don't go in expecting to lose. And for our fans not to appreciate us and the hard work and the sacrifice that we do for this football team is sad. The reporter then points out to Dak that I don't think they were throwing garbage at you guys. I think they were throwing garbage at the referees. Dak will go on to say, and I quote, "Credit to them then, credit to them." Now, I understand. I remember those days of watching the Miami Heat versus the Chicago Bulls series back when LeBron made the big three and seeing Derrick Rose trying to climb over that hill and seeing the referees make questionable calls and you feeling like the referees are jagging you out of the game. I've been there. I've been there being a Kobe Bryant fan and watching him go against the big three Celtics and feeling that the referees are just giving these guys all the calls and they're taking the game and giving it to Boston. I've been there. But never have I once wanted to wish harm on the referee, and I'm a fan. As an athlete, especially a sponsored athlete, I know you guys seen Dak Prescott in those Sleep Number commercials. That's a quick way to lose sponsorship, Dak. Shame on you for wishing that on the referee, because regardless if the bottles are empty or not, it's degrading for you to throw trash at me. And then let's say you throw a bottle or a glass that's full and I get hurt, I get cut, I get concussed. You should never say credit to fans for behaving like animals. And that Cowboy fan base was a reflection of the garbage that you guys played like on the field. Now, Dak has quickly retracted his statement. I wouldn't say quickly, actually, because it took him a couple of days. And it really wasn't until the NBA Referee Association said that the NFL should do something about what Dak Prescott said, because you essentially wished harm on an official. The NFL finally stood up and fined Dak Prescott $25,000. He could afford more. He just got paid $75 million to play like hot garbage. Shame on you, Dak Prescott. Shame on you for your play on the field, and shame on you for your comments after the game. There's one word that even I had to learn about, and that's accountability. You should have been accountable for your actions that you performed like that on the football field. You didn't lose because of the referee. You lost because you played like trash. And it's ironic that now you got to pay $25,000 for saying it was okay to throw trash on the referee. And that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys for sticking around with your boy this long, man. Again, catch your boy on ASAP Sports Network. You can find that network on Facebook. Make sure you guys go like that page. That stands for All Sports All Plays Network. I'm on ASAP in the morning. That usually comes on at 9 o'clock. We're usually on for 2 to 3 hours. Make sure you check your boy out. I usually share the link on my Facebook page. Holla at me, man. Support the kid. Also, catch me on the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel or Google Play Store app or the App Store on iPhones. I'm trying to put myself everywhere. And then, of course, come to me if you want to just come to me personally. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify. I'm on iTunes. And you can catch me on all social media platforms, baby. We out here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. You know how the old adage goes, man. I appreciate you guys for sticking around with me. Join me next week as we're going to pay tribute to the late, great Kobe Bryant. It's always a tough time around this time. Just remembering, where I was when I heard the news of his passing and all the memories that the Black Mamba left me with, man. You know, I was the biggest Kobe Bryant fan. So our next show is dedicated to him and Gianna. I love you guys, man. I hope you guys continue to do great things. Remember what I always tell you, man. I know you might see the big picture, but you need to break it on down. You find out what those achievable goals you are trying to reach. You make a plan on how you're going to achieve those goals. And then, like I always say, once that plan is in mind, ain't nothing to it but to do it. It's time to go execute. I love you guys. I hope you guys continue to be safe, continue to be healthy, and continue to be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We gone. There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us. But we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we gone.